You know the cherry tree's significance dates back to when Japan donated thousands of cherry trees to Washington, D.C. as a symbol of friendship. George Washington is known for cutting it down. You know, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are related, and their family derives from Mongolia and Eastern Europe. They were Khazars. They had to make an ultimatum for Russia and surrounding nations that were impacted by the Khazar murders and robberies that they must choose between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam for official state religion, and they chose Judaism. Anyhow, they use Elohim as a front. They use Elohim as a front, you know. I think the ancient Mayans and Sumerians depicted the Watchers, or the Anunnaki, that gave us our capabilities and different aptitudes. The forbidden mathematics, sacred geometry, they want us to mine the earth for gold. Gold is represented as a state icon 79 AU because it's just gold atoms. And no significant molecular atomic representation, just pure white molecules might consist or be comprised of multiple different atoms in a single molecular structure. The rest of the Khazars or Khazarians worship the synagogue of Satan. They might be working for the Anunnaki now. They use Judaism as a front. Jewelry, get it? That's the big conspiracy. So just remember, when you hear people like me on BitChute talking about the Jews, they're talking about something else entirely. They say the Anunnaki is the man in the moon. The big conspiracy is a lie, and they just use gold as a front. They just needed the resources. There's an Indian goddess, Kali, and this was when California was an island. Kali used to rule over California when California was an island, depicted in maps from the 1500s, maybe the 1600s and 1400s. Kali was a 9-foot tall black Amazonian goddess who ruled over California, and apparently she went to battle and fought this Meshiva shapeshifter and won and defeated it and slayed its horns or its head off or something, and rides around on this griffin, and they fed the men 2 griffins. And this is all real history, but they say that it's false and a myth in Common Core that they teach in the high schools. The Khazars had to make an ultimatum because of Russia and the surrounding nations that were impacted by the Khazar murders and robberies. They had to reject paganism and choose between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam for official state religion. And they chose Judaism. They hide behind their religion, they worship Satan, and they worship Baphomet, who is this demon god with boobies and horns and a goat head, and is half man, half female. This is their icon, this is their idol, this is what they worship at the synagogue of Satan. There were ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs depicting the Watchers. The Watchers seem to be legit, unlike the Anunnaki, on the other hand, which is a myth. The Khazars, they were apparently paganists, but they're really Satanists. They use Judaism as a front to hide behind. They are devil worshippers. The Bible talks about the Khazars, and they're the people who run and worship at the synagogue of Satan. They worship Baphomet. The star is literally just a pentagram upside down. This is the Church of Satan logo, and this is just the Oreo logo, in case you were wondering. The Freemasons use a universally spoken language of lines, circles, shapes, and symbols based on forbidden mathematics. The Freemasons use a written, universally spoken language of lines and circles, shapes, symbols, and geometry, based on maybe forbidden geometry and sacred mathematics. They use Elohim as a front. They use Judaism as a front. They use jewelry as a front, gold as a front. That's the big conspiracy. So when you hear me and other people talking about the Jews, just know they're talking about something else. I mean, how can we really still be mad about something that happened over 1,500 years ago, right? Anyhow, there were dog-headed depictions of people that might have been real, but they symbolize a symbolic representation of interconnectivity between humans and animals. Humans were more down to earth and peaceful. Man were more like animals, and animals were more like people. We liked them. We could have communicated with them and understood them and respected their culture. What the fuck is this? There were dog-headed depictions of people. Dog-headed people might have been real, but they symbolize, and they're the symbolic representation of our interconnectivity between humans and animals. Humans were more down to earth and peaceful. Animals were more like people. We liked them, and we could probably communicate with them. But there were dog-headed human hybrids. I'd even know if you could call it a hybrid, but it seems like it's a gene splicing. Dog-headed people were real, but they are the symbolic representation of interconnectivity between humans and animals. Humans were more down to earth and peaceful. Animals were more like people. They acted more like people. We liked them, and we could probably communicate and talk to them. But there were dog-headed human hybrids, and I don't even know if you could call it a hybrid, but it seems like gene splicing to me. Anyhow, there's graphene in the Red Bull. If there's graphene in the Red Bull, if you look at this under the microscope, you can actually see that there is speed and benzose particles in the Red Bull. This has been proven. And Mrs. Holes, graphene causes clumping and clotting in the veins. And you can't sue because it's experimental. Graphene has been found in the Red Bull. If you look at it under a microscope, you can find graphene, which causes clumping and clotting if it's in the veins, and you can't sue because it's experimental. This vaccine. Graphene, speed, and benzose, which is an upper and a downer, has all been found in the Red Bull under a microscope. Graphene causes clumps and clotting in the veins, and you can't sue the manufacturers and the doctors because it's experimental. Mrs. Holes said this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Vaccines have self-replicating synthetic DNA. And lettuce, tomatoes, carrots have all been vaccinated. You can't even feed a deer carrots anymore. They won't eat them. And in 2020, there were news articles coming out saying that tomatoes have more DNA found than in the human body. In 2020, all these various news articles started coming out saying that the tomato has more DNA than that of the amount found in the human body. They put up 5G towers at the schools, and then all the kids contract cancer. All these chemtrails, the little microshreds, aluminum and chrome, these amplifying materials that amplify the sun's light. Amplifying the light itself will lead to the reduction of the sun's natural color. Okay? It just makes it very, very bright and tunes out the sun's natural halogenic color. At 10:08 p.m. Saturday, April 27, 2024, I was hearing frogs ribbiting outside my window. At least 15 of them outside my window. And I looked behind me on the bed, and there's at least 17 total around the entire block of the neighborhood. I heard a low frequency change, and all of the frogs shut off all at once at the same time. could be like 5G or something. Where have all the bugs gone? Roman concrete. They say Roman concrete grows slowly. It slowly forms layers of itself around it, but that defeats the fact that there's no creation or destruction in this universe, only chemical reactions. Hornfels metamorphic rock is black on the inside and a reddish-orange skin grows on the outside, very, very slowly. Energy, frequency, and vibrations are the keys to unlocking this universe. There was a Vietnam veteran in a wheelchair who wouldn't stop talking about the experiments of the war, and he pointed out stuff like Soylent Orange, which was like the original Russian sleep deprivation experiment, Russian sleep gas experiment. They had a giant orange cloud that was dumped in these forests, and the soldiers couldn't sleep. They stayed up all night. Soylent Orange kept them sleep deprived. And they flew an Apache helicopter after him and blew him up with heat-sinking missiles because he was a Vietnam veteran in a fucking wheelchair, because he wouldn't stop talking out about all these things. They always paint the Vietnam vets as a bunch of old fucking geezers, First they make an airplane, and then it's an airplane. Or no, first they make an aeroplane, then it's an airplane, then bomber planes, then tanks, then the blueprints for these things spread all around the world at the same time. Each year, every country is using the same technology for their planes, using the same planes. Britain has the same planes as America, and Canada and Germany have the same planes as Australia, and almost any given point on the timeline, Japan comes out with the same plane as British. They all work and produce it at the same time. It's the same plane, same technology, just with slightly different models. The Germans lost World War II because they were given the technology that they had to use. That's why they call them... Oh God. The Germans lost World War II because they were given the technology that they had to use. Germans. Get it? They had teleelectric currents, ley lines, acoustic levitation, able to move large stones with sounds. The Basilica della Santa Casa of the Holy House in Loreto, Italy, was said to have been built with the help of angels. And how else would they do that unless they were able to spiritually communicate with these things to serve a divine purpose and goal? This is the big secret that Jesus came back for Thanksgiving with the meek during the millennial reign. We are what's left of the meek, okay? This is the big secret that the Khazars don't want. This is the big secret that they don't want good Christians to know about in the schools. This is what they're keeping from us. This is why they made the schools, to keep the hive mind busy and preoccupied with stupid words, math, and lines of code, and fake history. You'd think that spending all this time fighting for the system, speaking out, debating, teach, you're actually doing something and making a difference, but in the end, you're only helping the system. And, there's this CERN particle... So the CERN Particle Hadron Collider is owned by random countries, i.e. Switzerland, America, maybe Canada, I don't know, but the largest underground PHC is 12 or over 12 miles long. They want to make another giant one that's 20 miles long. And that's when the Mandela effect started happening, when they first, opened a wormhole in 2012 at the end of the year. Everything started changing. At the top, these people are all... No, the point is that you can't trust anybody these days. Who can you trust these days, right? At the top, God knows what they are. Sometimes I think they worship the devil, but there's a point when this kid and this person, this abuser, this oppressor, this teacher, this worker is a demon. And I don't see a time in your life where you might not have to end up one day having to kill somebody. And at the top, somewhere I believe that they're all following an agenda that is run by the Khazarians. The law, police, schools are all controlled by this Khazarian alien force. And do you really think that the people that arranged all these necropolises, again, these catacombs, these tombs, do you think that the people that hid our ancestry, taken that from us, do you really think that they would want us to know the amount of kids that have been subjected to gang-related activity every year? Do you think they would want us to know the death toll? Do you think that they would want us to know the amount of people that they have killed? Never trust an adult, because they do not care for your safety. They do not care for your safety. And right here is where I got the proof it's all interconnected. You got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got Instagram. Okay? You got Superstore, people that work there, the dollar store, police, workers, OSHA, people. And they can rat you out, and they can choose to tell on you, and they can choose to say that, I gotta call you out on your shit because of red flag laws, and this, that, and the other, and you can't say this, and you can't do this because of all these people that are working against you for the system. And in the middle of it all is the school. The school that gets away with breaking hundreds of laws and offenses on a day-to-day basis. Their actions cannot be accounted for, okay, with any law or sentence or statute. Okay, you got the counselor, okay, police, CPS, this is what they do. 911 dispatch, which connects to SWAT, police, military, army. They'll call the CPS, which, they'll send a police after you to take your kid, or if they have a warrant and if they have a paperwork file, they'll send the usher or the truancy officer to come take your kid away. And they'll have you see a psychiatrist for drugs and hook you up with a prescribed medication for your ADHD so that you can slow down and be a zombie. Some of that Benny, some of that benzos. Dumb your kid down like a fucking zombie because he wants to look out the window and go talk and communicate with nature, build something, do something unique. Romans chapter 8:16, a very special verse. The Spirit of the Lord itself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. You must appear as a child in the eyes of the Lord. Anyone who is a friend of the world is an enemy of God. Don't let the world grow on you, because this universe is an evil place. This system is the result of forced assimilation against the children, purging the weak and creating a future where the law suits the individual. Now, what do you think I mean when I say that Donald Trump's new future, the law will change to where the law suits the individual and not the other way around? I mean the individual as in the whole, everyone, the collective hive mind, the CPUs, the NPCs, the machine men with machine hearts and machine minds, taking over the weak while the fat cats get off on it, taking over the spirit realm with the Smiths and the Johns, the Fredericks and the Pilgrim descendants with no soul. The Bible says that if you are stupid and in a state of bliss, Jesus, the God will put you in a state of retrobate mind. Just like hive mind. It's like a CPU, NPC program state of mind. The good races will die and the world will die, so does it really matter when you die, or does it matter that I'm fighting for something more valuable while I'm still here? It's spiritual warfare. It's replacement. It's all the good races gone. The system benefits from you rolling over.
If you don't show up to school, your teacher knows about it. If you get in trouble, all these people at the store, superstores, supermarkets, cafes, lodges, businesses are all programmed to call the school when you do something wrong. Call your teachers, the school. They'll call the police, they'll call SWAT, military, use truancy officer as a threat. Ancillary is when you know a business, institution, company, corporation, system is breaking the law, offenses, or conducting illegal activity. It is only ancillary when we are aware they are breaking the law and that they are in fact a unit of organized crime. How could you lose to their kind? How could you let them win? Why would you why to someone as disgusting as gross as this? To be incarcerated as a villain by your own kind, turned on by these traitor pigs. They're the real villains. And the system can be used against them. Don't lose to them if you're innocent. Don't let yourself be made into another example. You must defend yourself even if it means becoming a terrorist in the process. They are a certified crime unit, organization operating on purging the weak and using your friends to achieve their goals of containing the masses and controlling and manipulating the hive mind. They took away spring and summer, and all we have left is the season of gloom and winter. Usually only 5 to 20% of the ingredients served in fast food restaurants are real. Most of the ingredients are fake. 60 to 95, most of the ingredients are fake, synthetic, artificial chemicals. Hey, all these people who talk about Waco and all the people who try to make free energy cars and all got assassinated, the people who know about this are all still saying, well, you gotta look at it from both sides. Both sides. Us versus them. One thing I didn't mention in one of my videos is that Miles Morales was wearing a Nazi colored uniform. Literally Nazi colors. It's Freemasonic symbolism. Now what do you think I mean when I say the law will change to suit the individual, not the other way around? That means everyone, the whole, the hive mind. You'll all benefit from purging the weak. In schools, at jobs, work, nothing will change just because I said something about it, but there's still time. You gotta believe in you. Take your time if you need. I failed this GATE program initiation test. It's a real thing, and proof says it's a whole CIA or organized operation. It's a real thing. It happened to me, and they make it out to be something it's not. So all these church windows use somatics, which emanates frequency, emits, or maybe amplifies frequency. They're really, really cool, awesome looking windows. Made by another civilization, something beyond us. This 3-step program, that's all it is. You take this innocent kid that isn't yours, been taught, disciplined, spanked, and keeps things to himself. Taught to only speak when you have good things to say. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. But you take this undisciplined kid who never got beat, spanked, disciplined with siblings to learn to fight behind their parents' backs, learn to threaten each other. They'll say things like they have friends to fight with. And yet the bully will choose to take his anger out on me. Step 3 is this whole thing going under the rule of a neglectful teacher who does nothing but go right along with it. They know that you got beat up, and they know who did it. My thought is that they're data collecting jerk-offs. Principals, superintendents, admin staff, all of them. Nephilim, Sedekar, cave dwellers, giants, Irish, Scandinavian, Scythian, Caesarean women. These are all fucking awesome races of red hair, and their descendants, we put them in a school with just the rest of them. Mix them up. It's messed up. So if you're in a state of bliss, then God will put you in a retrobate state of mind, meaning like a body with no soul. And where is your will live? Even when I was in high school, I thought, how can we seriously just sit here while the weak are getting purged in middle school and in elementary? The real fights are happening there. That's where the real fights are happening. Well, teachers just let it happen. Teachers, staff, principal, all continue to niggerize the students. There's a point where that evil kid is a demon. And it's just, kids being kids, but the kids with real problems don't go running their mouths about it. And kids who are vocal about how they want to fucking die or kill somebody, they have their own problems, but it's not as bad as the kids that shut their mouths about it. Don't talk about it. The system. But trust me, they're not suffering as much as the ones who can't come out about it. You don't need to talk to him. You don't need to talk to him about it. You don't have to call CPS or police or the army. You just need to stop forcing him or her to go. I mean, it's sad how many people can think innocent kids getting attacked at school is cute while the teacher is forcing you to have your data collected. There's nothing cute about it. You know, needless roles and false positions of authority. Injustice, civilized people don't fight and kill for what they believe in. They create a future that suits them best, but if bloodshed is the only thing that they want, then cutting off all that special race and all those special races is the only goal. No teacher has the right to talk about what it means to want to kill yourself because of bullying, unless they've experienced what it feels like firsthand. And even when it was really bad for you, then you would never, even if it was really that bad for you, then you would have never worked at a school. Because you would have known just how horrible it is. Where no teacher has the right to talk about what it means to want to die because of bullying unless they've experienced what it feels like firsthand, because even if it was really that bad for you, you would have never become a teacher or worked at the school because you would have known how horrible it is. You would have never been a teacher because you would have known how bad it really was. We don't know how many people are in this country. They're hiding land. They wouldn't tell us how many kids fall victim a year to death from child-related activity of violence. They're not going to disclose that information to you or how it happens or even what happens. Best thing you can do is just know about it and the lie about the numbers. This is the age of deception after all, and it's not the people, it's not the cops, it's whoever's presenting us these numbers and whoever's programming the algorithm to put these numbers in our face. That's the real big conspiracy. This is not a schizogram. I'm currently working on repairing my left hemisphere for creative thinking. The left hemisphere is for creative thinking, while the right side is for categorizing and organizing your thoughts and observations. I may have received brain damage from middle school. I'm simply taking the observations I've witnessed from the institution and presenting it to you now. It would be a crime for me not to. Native Americans could melt copper, use a mold to make a tube out of it, hollow a bull into a bone with another bone mouthpiece, have decorations, dyed feathers, gems. They would have mixed 50% weed, 50% tobacco, and they would have lit a campfire and used it as a light. They call it the peace ceremony, dance. Around the fire, tents, along with all these old buildings. Like the Capitol building in Washington that was built in the 1800s. I don't believe that building was built in the 1800s. But you don't need to worry about it as long as you've got this list. Some of them don't have bad intentions, but most teachers, staff, bullies, they hate the nice kid because they're jealous of how precious and innocent someone else can be. They want to take it from you and broadcast it to the world. Your innocence, destroying it, crush the innocent. You're either with it or you're against purging the weak. Teachers seem to love It seems teachers like talking down to kids and treating them like dogs because you know that they're better than you and you can't accept that. It drives you insane as a teacher that they've been through more as a kid than you have as an adult. It pisses you off that you can't just know what happened to him or her, the quiet kid, because he or she won't tell you. So teachers like talking down to kids, treating the nice kid like a dog, just as ignorant as the rest, and choose to like it when you get beat up. Because if he doesn't talk, we'll make her talk. ISS, school, the in-school suspension. They treat me like shit, falsely imprisoned me, and set me up as an example and ruined my life in the process. I can't be myself anymore. I could never do it. They embarrassed me in front of everyone, made me beg for my life. They had never been held accountable, so when they refuse my list, I will. It's like teachers don't want you to have your innocence because it's something they never had. They're jealous of it, so they take it away and set you up as an example and make an example out of you. I don't know why, but it mostly seems like women teachers because they haven't had any fighting experiences. And they got off on something, I don't know. They think it's cute. They use Democrat Party members and Republican politicians to invoke the United States Patriot Act and the Real ID. Joe Biden was even a member of the party trying to sign all this in at the time before 9/11. 9/11 was a huge red herring for the digital ID. They wanted the Real ID out at the same time they were trying to invoke the United States Patriot Act before 9/11. So they didn't have enough followers at the time to go through with it until now. 9/11 was a huge red herring to later coerce the people in May of 2025. That's just some teachers. It just depends on how far down the line we're talking. They need to have the attention drawn away from them, so they go extensively out of their way to ensure that if it happens, one group of kid ends another kid, it'll labeled as a suicide. You know? The Bible said that if the people of Egypt don't celebrate Thanksgiving at the Feast of the Tabernacle every year, then it will not rain in Egypt, and Egypt will dry up. Look at Egypt, look at Saudi Arabia, Iraq, especially Israel, dry and cracked. Africa used to be lush and green 500 years ago with rainforests and swamps and trees. You know, it's not like there's any sort of creepy vibe at school at all. It's not like there's anything creepy about it. It's not like there's a creepy aspect to it, right? These teachers ain't no niggers. They're all fucking niggerizers. They need to be taken out and not to a picnic. If you're against it, then the law is against you. If you are with it, then you can seemingly purge as many of the weak as you want and get away with it. You can't just exist. We have to go make you go to school and teach you about the Holocaust so that you turn out. You can't just exist. You can't just exist. We have to take you to a school and teach you about the Holocaust so that you don't turn out like your ancestors, your great grandfather, and then some bunch of white supremacists, bunch of rapists, bunch of slave masses. Jewish Pharisees and scribes turned on their own king, taking the word of the Lord and twisting it and skewing it to give themselves power and hierarchy. The world controller. Jesus saw what was happening and walked into their money trafficking operation and got pissed off and flipped a table. And Jesus Christ, who was a Jew, or what we would refer to as Hebrew in modern times, who was one of them, so a Jew, scribes and Pharisees turned to the Roman power structure to have him executed. Crucifixion. He rose from the dead like a zombie and vanished and came back just a short time later. Pretty much a hop, a skip, and a snap later, he comes into our existence. It all starts with Joe's house getting raided and all of his weapons getting taken. Then Mr. Schmo's house gets raided, for no reason, by the ATF. No more firearms for law-abiding citizens. Those teachers only believed that I started the fight because that's what I wanted them to hear. Of course, that's the story that gets passed around by the staff. That's the story that gets passed around back to the teachers and back to the kids. And all these years, no one ever talked about it. No one addressed my mental state. Why did you do that? Why did you have me there? Obsessed with money? That's the only reason? No, even if it means killing the weak, they will go along with it. And not one person called him out. Not one pointed out the bad guy. And those teachers were so fucking stupid they couldn't realize that I wasn't the one who started the fight. I would never hurt anyone at all, but teachers are so fucking goddamn stupid. They couldn't acknowledge the fact that I didn't do it, of who did it. That everyone witnessed it because everyone wanted to see it. Sadism, it's false accusations. They get off on it. They get off on it. And I'm talking everyone got off on it. They liked it, how cute they thought it was. And their number one impression of me is that he's just a loser that got beaten up trying to defend himself. Mrs. Holmes thought, yeah, and he deserved it. No one ever spoke up about it. No one. Maybe they thought, how could a kid like him try and fight, nevertheless start it, or initiate the fight, even if they thought that they still didn't ask me about it. Debbie and Linda, the principal, telling everyone what happened to me, the lie, proudly presenting it as the truth. Kids eat it up like slop, so do the teachers. No one ever found the bad guy. They'll just keep pointing the finger at an easy target, blaming the innocent, and continue to get away with it. It's unfair, or unjust in law terms. It's injustice, crimes against humanity, vicious behavior towards kids, malicious, menacing. When I was in school, I wanted to get a job, but I couldn't get one because they made me go to school. It doesn't matter how many times you wash your skin to make yourselves look pretty on the outside, but on the inside you're all just a bunch of dead bones. The Tartarian races were capable of more than just building old buildings. They could lay them out perfectly, aligning with astrological calendars. The race that rules us is only capable of destruction and swaying and using people. What's the point of life with no death or getting old, right? There are no limitations except for those that we acknowledge. And I know because I read that on a fortune cookie. The Chinese people wanted to touch my hair when I was a kid. Baby. My mom was carrying me when I was a baby because I had red hair and it's good luck in China. a lot of luck-based aspects in their culture. Mrs. Holes put a red mark next to one of this kid's work answers in school, and he left because red mark basically means bad in China. And he left the school, didn't come back. The Japanese teach their kids about friendship, teamwork, respect, kindness, and how to love every race. We don't do that here in America. 80 to 100% of the people are useless because 80 to 100% of the jobs are useless. Again, it's not about doing something about it. It's about taking this mindset and presenting it to them. Don't worry, because I'm saying something about it here to these teachers and these bullies, this principal, and I'm going to try and talk to them. If they don't do anything about it, if they don't stop, I'm going to do something about it. I've been sitting here on my ass letting teachers niggerize the good kids while the majority of the stupid, retarded NPCs succeed, while they let bullies get away with purging the weak. And anyone that doesn't go along with their future, all those innocent kids, they're just, it's about fighting the system. Even if I'm killed, they ruined my life. All those kids, all those teachers, no one ever cared about how I felt or what was going on, what I was going through. They didn't even know what happened to me. They didn't know my story. They didn't want to listen. My advice is that if you ever see a teacher, I can't say that part. There's a point when they're no longer kids. They're just demons. Using the law against them won't lead to our success. We have to take the law into our own hands. Again, these teachers are not niggers. They're all niggerizers. They don't know what it means. All they know is that kids kill themselves because of bullying, yet they continue to ensue their dreams of making that a reality. If you hateful kids want to fight each other, that's fine, but leave the innocent kids out of it. Children are ruthless murderers right now. People don't just kill each other. Only demons do that. The cartel, don't fuck with them. The cartel are not a source of the drug influx. It's mostly the CIA, FBI, and pharmakia. Greek is frequently translated as witchcraft or sorcery. 2 German scientists found an acid or bile acid in the intestines of a bull, and it's taurine. They later decided it would be easier to remove the taurine from the bullshit, and because it would be easier, more convenient, and cost effective. Chinese pharmacists created Red Bull as a way to keep Chinese workers at labor from falling asleep, using 3 times as much taurine as they do now, just to keep them awake on the job. The design of Red Bull is 2 Red Bulls signifying the taurine, and a sun in the background symbolizing the red sun, hence Red Bull. Anyone who's a friend of the world is an enemy of God. The Bible says not to be afraid of these people, if you can even call them that. Those who proclaim to love God speak with their mouths and not with their hearts. Love and praise God Almighty, Jesus of Nazareth, because he's a real person. He does exist today, and he's really with us. He never really died. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. All those who call themselves lords. And he is the Father of all fathers, the ultimate provider who provides the love that no broken or shattered home or family could ever allow you to receive. Love and respect your Creator, just as you do your mother and father, and respect your mother and father. When my dad terrorized us, I didn't blame him. When Johnny Washington hit me, I don't blame him. But he is really not to blame for any of this. No, it's you. It's me. It's the system of oppression that we've all been put under. It's lithium in the chemtrails. They're finding lithium in the chemtrails. This Magellan they found in the vaccine. Crickets. They find parasites in fucking crickets. Or no, these little Magellan creatures that they're finding in the vaccine, they actually feed on crickets. And one day, there was a cricket out in the hot tub. And we look in there, and there's this leech parasite-looking thing feeding off it. It's not feeding off it, but it's in the hot tub with it. Where did it come from? It's almost like it fell from the sky. Okay, and that's majorly suspicious because how else would it get in the hot tub? Smart dust, So smart dust is basically a bunch of little nanoparticles that they're releasing into the air. Particles in the vaccine produce red blood cells of another species. Magellan is a young hydra. Magellan only replicates when exposed or introduced to body temperatures. It's a non-self-replicating when it's frozen. We found this cricket in the pool along with the little strands of Paris. We found a cricket in the hot tub with a bunch of little strands of parasite-looking Magellans. They feed on crickets and even control its brain. They put the Magellan in the chemtrails. It's like they're falling from the sky. The macro nanotechnology can replace the light within every person and replace it with another light, their light. Graphene oxide in the Red Bull, in the vaccine, right? NASA dumping smart dust and lithium into the air, and millions of Magellan particles in the air. Since I was 9 or 10, I wanted to die. Not even a person. No, wait, I can't. I'm not even gonna say that. This is stupid notes.